the spiritual energy actually codifies and unifies and harmonizes the universe. And so if we just stop going mind first, everything will fall magically into place. Like our mind first world is sort of disharmonious, you know. So to make a long story short, it's sort of like all of a sudden I realized the sun was sort of where God stays when he comes to the solar system, and the moon was where his wife stays when she comes to the solar system. It's sort of not like any other fable or any other myth. And so the solar eclipse was sort of them pulling the curtains and marking God's arrival, which made me just realize that everything astrological, from eclipse and zodiacs and astrology, it's all to track God's movement in the universe and that energy in the universe. Physical cycles go like in days, weeks, and months, and mental cycles go in decades and generations, and spiritual cycles go in every 2,000 years or so. So that's why Christ was 2,000 years ago. You know, the Jewish thing was 2,000 years ago. And so it's sort of like a hourglass. And so God comes and he turns over the hourglass and we start again. But what's different about 2012, it's like the vortex of all vortexes where time zero, the moment the first man and the first woman existed, is also lining up. So it's not just like every 2,000 years it's lining up. It's like the original time zero is all sort of lined up, and that's what's making it this change in our evolution. This is sort of a more historic mark where we're going to literally be what we've never been before, which is sort of more godlike and able to fly, you know, soul first. And so in some sense I feel like God is in the sun now, and he's watching over us kind of like Santa to see if we've been good or not. And like I think he's been really guiding all of us that feel the energy. God's looking down, and he wants to see those people who believe in miracles and believe in that stuff to sort of, you know, give them a sign, you know. So see if we can get inspired to go soul first. That's sort of like the whole thing. It's like you got to sort of be brave, because society has been wired mind first. Yeah. So it's been like dangerous and tragic to go soul first. But
well, it's scary for people.
Scary.
Because it feels like, you know, if you're in your mind, you're in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not in charge, oh my God, what could happen? But what people don't realize is what you're basically saying. If you go soul first, you're letting God be in charge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
you don't need to make decisions. You don't make mistakes. You're just in flow with the harmony. Like you shut your mind off, and there's this invisible geometric universe that holds you.
And I kind of feel that that's where we're making a shift from thinking with our minds to thinking with our hearts. And our hearts are always in tune with God.
I mean, the reason you can't use 10%, you only use 10% of your brain, is because you're actually using 100% of your brain. They had it confused. You're using 10% of your full potential because it's your soul, it's your CPU. And that's where you get the other 90%, by not using your brain and using your soul. So it's a trick. You can't get another 90% out of your mind. You can only get it when you sort of fly. So one of the confusions in spirituality is, you know, people say you want to find stillness. But that's only the first half. The first half is to find stillness, and the second half is to put it in motion again and fly. Right. And so that's sort of the part that we, you know, but we need to rewire society, because if you fly in a mind-first world, it's like you're flying into, you know, propeller blades.
Exactly. And I think that it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that we're in process.
Everything was orchestrated by God. You know, Darwinism isn't not God. That's the way God did it. God is Darwinism. And the internet isn't not God, that's the way God did it. And there was no sort of ghost in that machine, but now there is. The reason these things weren't answerable before is because the energy was sort of diffuse, and there was layers of ash and sediment, and the circuitry that's at the core of our consciousness and the universe and God was covered up. But now all the layers have been removed, and so it's like a neon light, and it's pure again. So now the answers are clear. And not only are they clear, they're simpler. Like, the people that had it right had these long, sophisticated, complicated theories that, like, the common person could never get. Now the answers are sort of, like, meant for dummies. But, like, in a good way. But, like, I figured it out watching TV. So if I could do that, everybody can.